Cal had his hand up when we took a recess. Do you have something to add,
Well, I
add
was
to this?
just going to say, we do have a presence every day, 40 hours a week here. That's half of the contract you pay is to have a operations manager here. I'm sorry she doesn't feel that she's getting the support she needs. And that was also something that was identified in Joe DeCerbo's comments, that the operation manager acts more like an independent or a gateway staff instead of Severn Trent. But that position was put in as a Severn Trent employee with the links too. As far as the organization, Joe DeCerbo did recommend the second proposal organizational chart, but that, he recommended you adopt it, but that can be altered. However, I think that the general structure is there, and I had heard some conversations going on during the break, and we can shift tasks. That's one of the reasons that I broke those out, is you can take each of those, put them under whichever supervisor, and then have it all answered to a public works, a operations manager. The other thing is that you'll recall Mr. Senior had presented a organization chart that he was championing, which was, I believe it was a St. Lucie one, and they had a similar organizational chart to this one, and they called it a general manager, and the general manager was the utility manager also.
Thank you, Cal.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
would just like to make one comment, and that was, I thought that the board had decided to use Joe DeCerbo going forward, but then because of, I guess, his back, or he just didn't want to be involved with the district anymore, he stepped away from us. I don't know that we necessarily stepped away from him. I think he said he wasn't going to have the time or the ability to work with our district. So I just wanted to clarify that.
He did fulfill his initial
He did.
obligation, which was
He
the
did.
creation of this document.
That's true.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, in my years of experience, I have discovered that almost any kind of organizational chart will work if you have dedicated, qualified people working in the organization. And to that end, the attorney has told me we cannot take any official action today because this is just an informal, like, workshop. But to that end, I want to get an informal agreement by this board that Mr. Perez and I start working on a contract to hire April White as our manager, our operations manager. May I have at least some informal support for that so that Mr. Perez and I can get started?
And again, this is not formal action, any formal action will be at a public meeting of the board.
Well, I do support that. I think that's a step in the right direction. I think we're focusing a little bit too much on the actual titles and the organization. We have to start somewhere.
Right.
So.
And we've got a good person.
We have a good person. I'd like to keep her on board. And I think that that would probably help her to kind of identify where she needs to be in this whole process. So I think that when you're here every day, you tend to think you work for the district and you work for Severn Trent, and sometimes you need to make that break. So I do agree with that process.
Margaret?
I don't have any problem with that, because I know we're gonna bring it to a board, we'll be able to review the contract. I would like for that position to be an employee of the district and not of Severn Trent, though. I think we need to go back to that.
Thank you. Gary?
not with the, I will not support the fact of, that April is going to be the person at the top, and then there's gonna be all the rest of this chain beneath, because I don't think that we have any indication, though you may have your behind-the-scenes dealings with her that we don't have. I don't see that the qualifications are there for what she's presented herself to be. I can see somebody with her background that can handle all of the fiscal type of stuff, et cetera, but we need somebody else of an equal level that can handle all of the other thing, which is also our business, the thing that makes money for the district, not just the assessments and offsets, the assessments. So if your direction is that direction of her at the top, and no, if you can see the fact that, yeah, that's her field of dreams and expertise is more the fiscal thing, I have no problem with that. But we need somebody else in here that can handle and can talk face to face and have the responsibility and have the knowledge that they're supported for their knowledge, not that they're answering to somebody else that can't handle what they do. Moreover, I wouldn't ask them to be able to handle the fiscal things. So we have two distinct things that need to be taken care of. And that other person, whether you call it the utilities manager or whatever kind of titles, because this district has always loved titles, but the function needs to be somebody that can handle the team of people that handle the everyday working type of situation as compared to the financial.
Thank you for your comments. Tony, you and I'll get together and start working on a contract. Thank you, lady. All right, let's, Cal, let's go back to some of these capital community needs that
Okay.
are on the.
You want to do nothing with the organizational chart, or?
Nothing with the organizational chart today. We're gonna have hopefully our new full-time manager bring her recommendations to an organizational chart back to us in a few months.
Okay. One of the comments that was kept coming through was the micromanaging, and so we had the role of the board that we identified here. One is hire the chief professional, set policies, approve the budget, create a vision, not necessarily do the nuts and bolts or minding the store. And Chapter 190 identifies the board oversight as maintenance of the infrastructure. Along with the maintenance comes plans for repairs, replacements, decisions as to whether servicing this maintenance should be more staff people or privatization. The board wants to develop a sound succession plan and develop personnel bench, then more staff people becomes an option, and the job function process has to be firmly in place.
What do you mean by bench?
What is the bench, what is the staffing plan that you have? What's the bottom level of service and how you're gonna provide it? What's the standard? I'm not sure I would have used bench as a word to describe it. This is out of Joe DeCervo's study. Some of the things that are needed, employee staff development, new job descriptions, policy review, ending in a employee handbook, training opportunities, performance evaluations, board orientation. Communication with the community is, as Mr. Neubauer has said, is very critical. And some of the tools that can be developed, some are already in place, but they need to be improved upon. The website, you might consider newsletters, complaint tracking with a response. There is complaint tracking now, but a response identification to make sure that everybody's been responded to. Resident education programs, additional events, which would be like the Christmas event, where there's more of an opportunity to meet the employees and see what's going on. The,
Hold on there for just one second.
yeah,
I'm not expecting any compliments, but
Mhm.
I have written a chairman's letter that's gone on the website now, ever since Mr. Newbauer suggested that, several meetings ago. I'm just curious as to whether anybody has ever seen it or read it. No?
I'm sorry, I have not.
But
I will see to
that's
it
a
that I do it.
disappointment, but it reinforces what Mr. Newbauer said. If I may paraphrase what I've heard you say, communication is a two-way street, not a one-way street. And I have tried to do my part in getting that started, and so we'll just have to redouble our efforts. But if you want to read it, it's on the website after every meeting. Thank you.
okay.
Go ahead.
Then as far as capital, community needs, then these are some of the general areas of concern. And where are your priorities? Probably all of them, but, what is most important to address the needs of the community? I put Parks and Recreation, evaluating if you should be able, or if you would like to be able to include new recreational opportunities like pickleball, fitness stations, maintenance of the pool and the facilities, maintenance of the rec facilities such as the soccer field lights, playground equipment, improvement of productivity using newer technology, maintenance of the utility infrastructure, landscaping, roadways, entryways, CDD facilities, perimeter enhancements, storm water system, lake bank stabilization, water quality, the control structures, the collection system, the expansion of this building. There's already been stated, and I think Mr. Newbauer has pushed real hard on the expansion of this particular building. Is that a priority for you? And then security. Those are just some areas that I've identified, but if there's others that should be put on a list for a goal statement, then we'd like to know those.
I
Okay.
like this list. I guess one thing that I'd like for us to do is as much as I'd like to add more in, like the fitness stations and pickleball or additional activities, I think we need to get to a point where we've got really good maintenance of the facilities that we already have. We're behind the 8 ball on maintaining what we've already got. So adding more and still needing to maintain the old, I'd like to get to a point where we're at an equilibrium on the maintenance, not behind it.
Under Parks and Recs, that's the second and third maintenance of pool
Mhm.
facilities and maintenance of the rec soccer fields, playground equipment. Okay, I'm just marking
Yeah.
these as items that you've
Maintenance
mentioned.
of-
You have things that,
I think I
Excite you on
mentioned-
this
I
list?
think I've mentioned them repeatedly.
all
The
these
outside
that
of
are
the outside of our
maintenance.
building wouldn't be a bad thing to start with.
That's exactly right, and my recollection is that the discussion decision on that is going to be during the budget presentation, when we decide whether, if, when we're going to do an expansion at the same time.
I just mean right now, just walk around the building and I think you can see what I'm talking about.
Oh, you can, absolutely, absolutely.
And somebody could connect the downspout to the underground drain, that's missing.
There's other things too. You're right, but I didn't mean to,
No,
I didn't mean to, say you didn't have a point, but I just said there are other things too. And April knows that, and she and I have talked about it, and it's gonna be worked on directly. But thank you for bringing it up to us.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
also, these are the ones that I start, also the maintenance of the utility infrastructure and then the stormwater system, I think. know the others are important too, but if you're ranking them, those are the items that I,
Where do you rank the lake bank restoration? Lake bank stabilization
yeah.
hasn't,
I mean,
we're
we're
talking about.
working on that.
We're
so
talking about
that's-
spending
these
$5
are-
million on
right,
that.
these
That's
are-
gotta be a number one or close to, would you agree?
Yes.
Pam?
Well, yeah, stormwater, system was number one for me, and, maintenance of the utility infrastructure was two. But there are a few of them that are right up there, because you want to improve, on your technology, and I think security is a big one, is also, very important, so he pretty much hit on, you know,
It's a good list.
yeah, a good list.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble finding, do you have the IT on this list?
The improvement production using newer technology
I'm having,
is up there right after Parks
Oh.
and Rec.
thank you. Okay, you've heard from the board on that.
Mhm. The, I didn't hear anyone say that landscaping was important, but I
That is
think.
important.
Okay, all right.
I mean, it's a
So
good-
everything
it's a
on this
good-
list is
Everything on
good.
this
Okay.
list you hit,
Maybe we ought to say, if what's on this list is not important.
yeah, everything is, this is a good list that you put together,
Okay.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to go back and discuss, just for, and I'll be very brief, the organizational charts, the proposed ones. The first organizational chart that actually has the four,
The current.
right, the current. I like this organizational chart, except for if you took the utility billing manager and made that utility billing admin, and then slid it underneath the utility manager, and it would give you 3 columns. I think that makes more sense to me, that the organization would be set up that way.
Well, there's some advantages. It opens up by zeroing in on that skill set. You're not going to have to pay a higher price for somebody that would be a department head.
I don't think that the utility billing, I don't think that needs to necessarily be a manager. I think that
Mhm.
someone with those
Oversee that
skills-
function.
Yes.
Okay.
That's just my opinion on that.
I'm inclined to agree, but what I am curious about, is it likely that you can find someone with not only all the skill sets, but the time and energy to handle all of these things appropriately? That's, you make it look like it's smaller than it really is.
The utility billing?
No, the things that are gonna be under utility manager, once we slide over, as Margaret suggested.
Well, he didn't suggest it, you're looking at Cal. Cal didn't make that suggestion, Margaret did.
I know, she
Well, then
did, and I was just
The query, I would think, goes to Margaret.
Margaret has made the suggestion, I think makes a lot of sense, if Cal thinks we can find someone with the talent, skill set, and energy to manage all of that.
I think he just responded back that he doesn't want to slide it underneath the utility manager.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Is
Uh,
Gary right about that?
You could do one of two things. One is slide it under the utility manager or put it under an administrative, because you might have been suggesting that also, where all of the administrative functions then, which would be kind of a hybrid between 1 and 2. And you just take that category, well, it would pretty much become,
If you just change the
This.
title from manager to supervisor, could you?
Sure.
Does then that make sense?
yeah.
What are we, who is doing that job now that it's empty, the billing, utility billing manager?
Well, I'm hoping that we're going to cover some of that today, either at the workshop or between Cal and I, as far as what we're going to do to get somebody in that position temporarily. Because we have a billing coming up, and, so right now, there's not anything being done, because I cannot get involved with the meter project, so we have some paperwork, piling up on the desk for the meter project, and, Vicki and Julie are handling customer service inquiries as far as the last billing issue, but we need somebody in here right away.
Now, we
So
had
Cal,
somebody
next
that left, is that right?
Yes.
We had that position filled and that person has now departed. So have we advertised to replace this position?
Yes.
Okay, and have we gotten any applicants?
I haven't seen them yet, but I usually wait till closer to the deadline.
So Cal, what is your plan? What do you have in place? Do you have someone that's coming from Severn Trent? Do you have
That's one option. We've considered several options. But one is we've got someone that was a billing man that headed up the billing department. She's not available full-time till the middle of May. But we could, and it'd just be a contractual relationship for a short period of time till we fill it. But possibly part-time up until then to help us out, just to get the billings out.
And you haven't
The other
gotten,
department.
you haven't gotten any response from your advertisement as of yet for that position?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I assume we have.
What are these things that are piling up on the desk? What does the meter technician do, coordinate with the utility billing manager? You just said things are piling up on the desk.
Well, the way that I understand it is for the meter install, there's been a lot of, the billings manager was reviewing all of the paperwork for the meter installation project.
In what way?
I don't know a whole lot about it. I wasn't involved in those conversations.
I know a lot about it. Tony knows a lot about it. Danny knows a lot about it. The bottom line is that the meter installation project is not complete, unless it's been completed since I talked to you last. And a lot of the meters that were installed improperly, or the readings from the old meter were not sent forward properly. A plethora of problems. And to make it doubly difficult, we have put together this Chinese wall, so that April, at the moment, and hopefully not for very long, can't get into that because she works for Severn Trent, and Severn Trent is the subcontractor on the installation. It's just a gosh awful mess.
So why did it take, my question out of left field, for this to be shared with all the rest of the board, or what, did I have my hearing aid turned off?
No,
or
you
what?
didn't. We thought we had the problem resolved on a half a dozen different times in the last 2 weeks.
But
And
yet
every
somebody at
time-
another meeting brought this up as their great thing that they have this intimate knowledge of, and all the rest of us went. I mean, that's back to communication again, two-way
Well-
street.
When we bring something forward to the board, we want to bring it forward with a smile on our face that the job is done, or that it's not done, but we've got a solution. And every solution that we've worked on in the last few weeks has blown up in our face.
Well, there's supposed to be 5, not 1. So all 5 of us, each having an equal vote, should be just as knowledgeable.
Well, you can say that,
I
and,
did.
and if you will, but I'll tell you this, on an item as complicated as this has become, working on it almost all day is not something that, the board is particularly good at. We're getting it worked out, but, there's still a bunch to do. So-
May I ask Tony a question here?
Please.
This Chinese wall that's keeping April from actually being able to resolve these issues, is that something that we can reverse so that we can get this handled?
Well, it gets back to the issue when the question was first raised, when the bids were submitted, and STE, who is the district manager, was also a listed subcontractor, as one of the contractors. And I
Right,
provided,
I
I don't have my
remember.
memorandum today as to what, one area I had no concern, another area I did have concern under the amendments to the Florida statutes. I haven't changed my opinion since that date, so I think we still need, you know, the action taken by the board, and I can revisit it. I looked at the memo about 3 weeks ago in light of what was been going on. I can't I looked at it, I didn't think there was no change in law that I'm aware of. The legislature hasn't changed that statute. But if I can, I'll relook at it and come back, report to the board at the next board meeting. But I don't think we can, right now, nothing's changed from a legal perspective in my.
That's what I wanted to.
But why, from an operational standpoint, why would there be a conflict? I mean, I understand from
Contract
award
administration.
or signing change orders or anything like that, but just to resolve an issue, why would that be a conflict?
The way I look at it, the issue is a contract management issue with the contractor and their subcontractor.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where there will be the issue,
But it,
arguably. Because right now you have the usual situation of we look to the contractor to perform, and the contractor is saying the subcontractor is not performing, and the subcontractor is severing trend. And then the subcontractor may say we have an issue with the contractor. And so
yeah,
that's where.
there's a lot of finger pointing, but still the contracts with Fortaline, and why can't April work with them and get this issue resolved? I'm just not sure I see a
Again, because
conflict
the issue is, you
relationship.
know, the contractor is responsible for the actions of the subcontractor.
Right.
In my understanding, we've been telling the contractor to perform, and there are issues where they say the subcontractor is the problem. And based on my understanding of what was going on with the meter changeout activities being performed by the subcontractor, that's where the issues have arisen with the failure to upload data properly, the failure to properly read information, and, as Mr. Guy said, a plethora of information by the subcontractor. That's what, one aspect of it. And the other one is whether the contractor is properly controlling the subcontractor. Danny, do you disagree? And feel free to tell me. I always appreciate your candor.
Yeah, feel free to tell us that you've got it all under control.
I like that answer, Beth.
If I'm allowed to speak at the workshop.
Oh, yes, sir.
And we
Just
can
that.
certainly come back at next Thursday's board meeting and give a full update for the entire board. We don't have it on the agenda, but we can certainly do that under the engineer's time. In the absence of the position, we have since asked that Tyler be the point of contact for the activities going on. So Tyler has been meeting and talking with Fortaline and their sub and asking three things. One, for a schedule, which they've provided, a list of all outstanding issues, and a list of the meters that have not been installed and what their plan is for doing that. Last Friday, they had a conference call to go over the majority of that. That led to, well, we've got about 100, I don't think it was quite 100, but we had quite a few meters. They didn't even know where they were. So Tyler said, give me those. We're going to go out first thing Monday morning. You're going to go with us, and we're going to find these meters. So they've down to, I think about 5 meters that they didn't know. So they're working on a group of paperwork items that there are several items that Severn Trent believes are change orders. we don't really care about that at this point. We want Fortiline to come to us as the contractor to tell us what these issues are, and then we'll look at them and decide whether or not we believe they are a change order. And then if it's appropriate, then a change order would be prepared. So activity has been happening. That's outside of all of the issues related to inappropriate installation or meter reading or those. That's we're kind of trying to take it one step at a time. We want to get the meters installed and get this project done, and then we can address the other issues.
Yes, we've been on this project for darn near a year and a half.
We have two things that associated with the schedule to mention is that their contract does not end until November of this year. So we don't have a whole lot of leverage other than in a paragraph associated with the contract prior to the ending date in November, it says you've got to make reasonable progress or something to that. So we can fall back on that language, but they can easily say, why are you harping on us, because we're well within our contract time. So we got to be a little careful on how we tread.
In the meantime, the billing is a mess.
And I can't help with the billing portion of it, so definitely, getting that resolved is something that we'll need help with.
Okay, so this thing that was brought out 2 boards meetings ago, about 10 meters that weren't giving data. That was a statement that was made. I heard that. So it's more than 10?
I don't have the specifics there. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Bigger than a bread box, smaller than a something or other? Okay.
Yes, yes, there are definitely issues.
Okay, so having said that, if you took the quote-unquote defective meter, put a workable meter in its place, would we be transmitting, to the best of your knowledge, that information back to us?
Yeah, and I think the solution is possibly fairly simple on many of them, and that is they didn't transfer the information properly. It means that some people may get a free bill for a month.
Mm-hmm.
The easy answer to that is, and actually Fortiline has agreed to this, is okay, take their average bill, take their highest bill over the last year and make them pay that for that month. And they have actually agreed to that. So it was their mistake.
And what are we doing about that?
Well, I don't know where we are. I mean, that's where we get into the billing side, so I can't see those
Well,
numbers, so we need a billing.
Doesn't seem like a rocket science decision to me.
Well, it is rocket science. It's trying to put 16 rockets in the air at one time and bring them back down on the same pad. What Danny doesn't tell you is that there's, what you say now, over 100 meters that haven't been installed. And
Correct.
there are some of the ones that have been installed, the readings haven't come forward properly.
Yes,
And Cindy was just working her full head off on that.
yeah, and to clarify, we know of a certain number of issues. What we don't know are the unknowns. So one of the things that we've already discussed with Fortiline and we're going to be recommending is that an audit of every single meter be performed out of their pocket, so that we know that every single meter was installed properly. It's there was a protocol for how they install it and for how they document that.
Okay.
And it wasn't performed properly in
But-
many cases.
All right, but that seems to be like something that becomes ongoing from a managerial point of view, as compared to the fabulous Mary going out with a meter, and great lady that she is, replaces it, and we start to offset this ongoing problem that seems to me like it's going to, based upon this direction, is gonna just keep going and going and going.
I don't think we have an issue with the meters that are currently in the ground that haven't been replaced. They're still functioning, and she still is going and reading
I'm
those.
saying the ones that aren't transmitting, and somebody is, and we're getting into a, rather than status quo, people are using, people are properly billed, et cetera, and life goes on, and
and let me clarify. I don't think it's a matter of the meters that are installed are not transmitting. The issue is with.
Data?
No, not data transmission. You had an old meter. They pulled that meter out. It had a number.
Gotcha.
A reading.
It had a reading. You put a new meter in, and it's 0, let's say.
Right.
They didn't transfer the information properly so it could be manually input as to what it is. So it's really about, once that new meter is in, I haven't heard that there are ongoing issues of a new meter that's not transmitting. So we're only talking about a finite period of data,
So we lost hypothetically 30 days. let's
30
say.
days. So it's a matter of going back in time and Fortiline say this meter, this meter, this meter, this meter. So whether we did that today or 2 weeks from now or a month, I don't think we need to rush
Still
to getting
money
it.
in the bank.
It is, but I don't think it's something we want to rush to get done absolutely today. And we may, because we may have more meters that we don't know about of this issue being there.
And maybe a temp could even come in and handle some paperwork.
I think anybody that would have access to that information could certainly do that.
Thanks.
Thank you, Danny. Where were we?
I'm not sure.
5 minutes to 12. Where's lunch?
I'll find out. Should be on its way, right? Or April will find out.
There's no business, there's no business.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree.
Okay, the board's gonna stand in recess until after lunch.
Is there a suggestion on what we're gonna do with this, or with the?
Turn this off, will you, please?
Well, that, yeah.
Lunch is in the kitchen. Lunch is in the kitchen.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
But the problem is,
Well, we have to get approval. But, what do we need? Can we get by with 2 days a week? Can we get by with 3 days a week? Yeah, whatever getting the billing out, and the issue is separate from the installation project. I understand. I
Creates
don't,
all of these anomalies.
let's get, Tony here.
Intelligent. I don't think that's rocket science.
With the billing, and talking about getting the billing out, I don't understand why she
no,
can't be
no,
involved.
look, there's a difference between the contract and the billing. We're working on reconciling the billing and getting that.
Getting the bills out, that's all.
That's fine, that's no problem. That's an in-house operation.
Right.
No, I'm talking about dealing with Fortline. They were saying, can you get the contract to do, that's
Core line,
different.
I understand that.
Okay, no, I have no problem.
So,
But if you
that
need
doesn't
rec-
answer my question, so I wanna know, can I call Melissa and have her come in?
Yeah, but I don't understand, I mean.
She wants to work.
I think, no, I mean, if you want me to clarify that, I will. From the standpoint you're acting with
I
the
just don't,
contractor.
if I call Melissa, I don't know what latitude I have to tell her.
The concept of interacting with Fortline and all that, that's what, the concept of looking at the records, working with Danny and Tyler, having the billings out to date now. I have no problem with that.
Melissa should put together independent contract.
I think it'd be great, we could,
And have it per hour, and then you manage your contract and tell her how much you need.
I think it's great, it's billing.
But you need to oversee the billing and get a handle on it to, that it gets out. Melissa becomes your contractor to get it out.
No problem, I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Now, do you want to? Oh, you're gonna bring it out here? Okay. You want- I wasn't sure if we're going in there or back.
Well, there's no place
nowhere
to
to
sit
eat
good
back
in
there.
there. except at the tables. And we're in recess, and we're not gonna talk about business, so.
Could be, or it could be just a different set of teaching, you could have ops manager here and maintenance and public works here and administration here, and it could be some dollar
So how's Jane doing?
Say again?
How's Jane doing?
Shane's just doing fine.
oversee all the aspects, yeah, so, you know,
And how
it really depends on.
Theodore
you
is,
and Ted doing?
he's doing great, and we're just, you know.
He's still going down to Ave Maria?
Yeah, well, he hasn't been going lately because they're in,
Summer recess?
yeah, it's like this is the time of the year where they recruit.
Oh.
So they're all going out of town.
What do you think about Tom Brady having to,
I was sad for him, you know. But, I don't know, I'm not in it, right? I don't know what's going on.
I have no dog in that hunt.
That's right.
Seems like an awful long time to bring something old up like that.
Exactly.
Utilities manager nowadays, but everything that falls under their budget, their scoping, their inventory, their everything. This person's responsible for managing their business. And then the operations manager is responsible to make sure that utilities and maintenance are all being managed and run efficiently. The district manager or chief of staff make sure that every system is in line. So you've got checks and balances along the way.
You going anywhere this summer?
So that's why.
We were talking about that a few days ago. Oh, okay. Thanks, son. She said we're being broadcast before the meetings. Julie,
I told her.